Marcia Walters, PhD. Marcia Walters works at the nexus of science and spirituality. As a spiritual scientist and teacher, ordained minister, and spiritual healer, Marcia's purpose is to empower people with an in-depth knowledge of how to blend physics and spirit to create life-transforming miracles. Through her company, Life Transforming Technologies, Marcia assists those who choose to transform their lives physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Her work respects all religions and our deep connection with our higher power. Marcia has studied extensively, gaining a broad understanding of both traditional sciences and metaphysical and esoteric teachings. Marcia's expertise combines her master's degree in physics and BS and PhD in electrical engineering, with less traditional explorations of how the invisible manifests as the visible. Marcia has studied many religions, spiritual and healing traditions with noted teachers and healers. She integrates the latest in electronic healing technologies such as Quantum Biofeedback, Rife, Spooky 2, and Healy in her practice. Marcia is also a medical intuitive and transpersonal spiritual counselor who is highly trained to work with clients to enhance healing. Using a variety of skills and practices such as matrix energetics, theta healing, and psychic surgery, Marcia communicates directly with the quantum field on behalf of the client. Marcia is able to establish energetic rapport and work with patterns of light and information to help the client shift into healthier patterns. Welcome, Marcia.
Thank you. Wow, that's pretty impressive. I hadn't read that in a long time. I think at one point though I'm gonna drop the Reverend. But anyway, welcome all of you. It's good to see you, and I'm so excited about this. This particular new equipment that's come into my life only within the past year, and I really am excited to be able to share it. So without further ado, let me share my screen. Let's see. So here is my information too. If you want to contact me, my email and website, you can look out. My website needs some updating. So let's dive right in and talk about how do quantum biofeedback devices work. We work by connecting to a person either in person using electrical hookups or virtually, connecting to the energy body by finding the person's unique frequency in time and space and connecting with it. Using the radionics type technology, the equipment reads the body's reactivity to various frequencies and then sends back other frequencies to make changes in the body. And this is very similar to what an intuitive energy healer does, only with consciousness. It's you know, if you ever had to struggle through trig class, this is where it becomes practical. How does this really happen? And Royal Rife is the one who really gave us this understanding by mapping the frequencies of different diseases and fungus and bacteria systematically. And so, first of all, for this to work, you have to have the disease or condition, you have to have the frequency. And then you come in and add the opposite. Well, mathematically, waveforms really don't have an opposite, but what they do have is an opposite phase, or you add a waveform that is exactly 180 degrees out of phase. And so according to the laws of trigonometry, what you do is you add in those two waveforms together, and the result is it's neutral. It's really a very simple concept, and to make it into this plane, into this world, the equipment and technology behind it is remarkable. And what I always want people to know, with something new like this, people are always concerned, is it safe for me? And so there are various safety protocols built into the machine. First of all, in the system settings, we go in and activate what is a positive consciousness field. We activate the shield from outside interference, activate the shield from any remote viewing or psychic interference of any kind. And there is a built-in alarm system. It's a red alarm will show when the client has had as much as their system can tolerate. And your data is safe. Your data will never be on the cloud. It will be with me, safely secured on my computer. I want to talk about this alarm system for a minute because years ago, it was 4 or 5 years ago, I became very interested in this machine, and I found a website that offered grants. And I applied 4 or 5 times and never heard anything back. And it never amounted to anything. But what I was told was they didn't go through the grants because they decided the system was not safe. So just so you know that it is. But in the early days of the machine, when this alarm system would go off, practitioners could continue to work with the client and basically start blowing out their systems until they had very harmful, bad reactions. And the software has been changed so that when this alarm goes off, you do have the choice to clear it. And if it doesn't clear, the machine itself will cut you out. So just to let people know how safe this machine really is. Now, there are many biofeedback devices, and some people will argue that technically if you're not hooked up, it's not really biofeedback. But you know, there is no time and space. Your frequency is determined by giving me your personal data. When I have your name, your address, your birth date, your time of birth, place of birth, that uniquely identifies you, and so that the machine can find you. It's the same thing I ask for when I do an intuitive healing. I started using these devices back with the Healy, and the early days, I got a Rife machine. It's probably been about 30 years ago. And it's interesting, when my first Rife machine, I had to literally go in a dark alley to buy it because they were not legal at the time. But now, today, I have a Spooky 2, which is integrated, and it basically is a Rife machine. And then there's the Healy that is a Rife machine as well. So I use all these devices because they each have their pros and cons. The Spooky 2 is something that if I need to leave it on somebody for a week, I can do that if I have the machine time. Whereas I can't do that with the Skia that I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. And it's relatively inexpensive. I got started with the Spooky 2 for $500. And you also have to have a computer to go along with it. But the learning curve is it's really high with the Spooky 2. And the software problems I ran into were pretty significant with Microsoft trying to cut the program off. And the Healy, on the other hand, is very simple, very easy to use. And neither one of these will give you anything near the information with the machine that I use now that I'm going to tell you about. But the Healy has a little bit higher price tag, 2,000 or 3,000, I believe, is the going rate. But it's very simple to use. And so a lot of people get benefit out of both of these devices. And I actually use them all in conjunction, because the Healy, if I don't have a lot of time, or I don't have any Skia time, I can go over to a Healy and push a button and help you. So that they each have their own benefits. But the the machine that I use now, actually I use a older version of this, is Quantum Biofeedback, and White Dove sells it. Now, the interesting thing is there are actually two strands of people who are selling this machine, and one strand works with the FDA and says you have to have FDA approved classes, and this is not that. This is from the original designer, creator, who is a man called Dr. Nelson. And this is the latest and greatest. They call it now the QEX. This is called the QEXED, and it's on sale during Christmas for only 21,000, whereas the regular price is 25 something. So it's a very pricey machine, and the education, they assume it's going to cost you upwards of $10,000 because of the complexity. So this is the latest and greatest, and this is a machine that I have. I have an earlier version. It's a used version, and it's called the SCIO, which stands for the Scientific Consciousness Interface Operation. And it really is a matter of consciously connecting and working with this machine in order to be able to go through the 1,000 programs that are involved in it. And this is the setup will be simple. You can do it in person. This is what it would look like. It has a harness that you can hook up to. And the benefits of having the harness are they think you can give 5 to 10% more accuracy. And I haven't found that to be an issue with most of my clients I work virtually with. The other benefit of the harness and the newer equipment is that there's extra programs you can run. You can actually do an EKG on them, for instance. And it's kind of confusing because every time they have done a major hardware change with this device, they have changed the name of it. So there's so many devices out there that do the same thing, but have different names. And when I started looking into it, I was thoroughly confused and found it very difficult to find good information on this machine. But one thing it has in common is the software. The software that it uses is the Omnis software, and all these different machines use it. So I'm going to go through some of these major programs and tell you about some of the things that it will do for you. But I have to give my disclaimer. This system is not legally used in the US for testing or treating, and it is not approved as a medical device. Throughout Europe, it is an approved medical device, where it is legal to test and treat with it. Therefore, here in the United States, we use the SCIO system information as a guide. All right. The SCIO has programs within programs within programs. So I'm going to go through some of the main programs to show you. Now, the really powerful thing is some of these programs within the SCIO can run and work on you at the same time. So there are 4 major ones that I can go back and forth. I can have one working on your lymph system, for instance. I can have one working on your muscles. I can have one working on your emotions, all at the same time. So one of the first ones that comes up is the big. It's a biofeedback interface graphic. Now, the big is there to ensure that we have good connection. So it shows us the energy flows within and without the person and how they're changing in a graphical way. And that runs in the background the entire time. And I can check it if I have a question. Do I think, is my harness connected appropriately, or am I really connected virtually? And it will give me an estimate of the percentage of the accuracy of the machine. another major program it has is the body viewer. Now, the body viewer has amazing graphics, and it works to scan the body and do various things to help the organs. At the same time, I'm running the other major program. It will do things like go back to your embryonic development and scan all the way through the development of your lifetime to look for things that need to be assisted. There's a disease dictionary. One thing that I found when I started working with this is, wow, do I need to increase my vocabulary? Because it takes the regular medical terms so that you know what they are, the regular diagnoses, and it will show them up in the program. Now it's a little bit confusing because the things you will see may look like a medical diagnosis, but they're not. Okay, because what this machine does is it's measuring and working with your energy body, and it will find the frequency that compares to a diagnostic, but it may be to a diagnosis, but it may be that you have some of the same symptoms. And one thing that the skill will do is it will not one thing it will not do, it will not give you a picture of how much is affecting your body until you really drill down and look at it. So in other words, the SKIO will come up with something. Let's say it comes up with the flu. If it comes up and says the flu is present, it does not distinguish upon whether you have just been exposed to the flu or whether you have had the full-blown symptoms of the flu. That's why I rely very heavily on intuition and on your feedback. Of course, we're not going to treat you even though you've been exposed to the flu, probably, unless you're starting to have some symptoms, unless that's something that you want. Now, the other thing is when the SKIO comes up with something and it says this is in your energy field, you can drill down deeper and deeper and deeper in the program to see how much your body is really responding to it, whether your body has it completely under control or whether your body needs assistance. Another program that we can use is called Home Use. Why they call it that, I have no idea, but it gives you a sense of all the things that we can do with this. SKIO treats mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. It does it all, and it has programs not just for healing, even though there are many, but it has programs to improve your mental functioning. It has super learning programs to increase your mental superpowers, to increase your connection with your superconscious, and your spiritual body will clean your chakras. It will help your lucid dreaming, and we have also have programs for general stress reduction to reverse the aging process, and of course there's general wellness, and these are the things that so many people I see today suffer from are degeneration, inflammation, energy repair, infection, circulation, those who want help losing weight, those who are in chronic pain, those who are in emotional trauma, addiction recovery, insomnia, depression, attention deficit disorder. And these all have their separate programs. And like I say, there's over 1,000 programs in this machine. Iridology is another main program that I can run on you at the same time. If I have a picture of you, it helps this program, but it will, even if I don't, it will continue to take a look. And what it will do is it will test you at different levels of your consciousness. I can set it to test you with your subconscious choices or your superconscious choices. These, even though I'm driving this machine and I'm using my intuition to help get to the core of whatever it is that you come to me for, it relies on your subconscious to make the choices. and it relies on your superconscious to make the choices. The iridology also gets in deeply into the anatomy. I have pictures and I can work on any part of the body. You can see here, ear, throat, sinus, liver, lymph. You can go through and pick and get very, very specific. Let's say you injured your shoulder. Could get very, very specific as to where we want to work. And these dark circles that come up, that is where your subconscious is saying, work here in this spot. Kept losing my mouse. All right, and so while all these other programs are working in the background of things I know you need to work on, there's a major program control screen. And this is basically where I will manipulate the program to find out what it is that you really, really want to overcome. And it gives you some hints here. This particular person has explored the risk of degeneration or metabolic error. And it gives you the choices to set the system power. How much can a person take? How much will it take to really help them? And one of the things that and it has that I really love is a flower essence program. So you have this menu on the right where you can pick to look at all these different things. So these are flower essences that it recommends for a person. Now, flower essences, if you don't know about them, this is the first thing that I studied when I decided to study alternative healing. They're one of the most amazing things ever because they're so simple. Sometimes it is just the simplest thing that is the best. And they always work from the emotional and mental aspects of whatever is going on with you. And you can see here that Taskio says, all these would be good for you. Now, on this major panel, you'll see colors on the left. This is supposed to be red. It doesn't really look red, but red, purple, and yellow. So this is a list of how it prioritizes. So the things at the bottom are the things that are the most important, or are they most prevalent, and they're most in the now. So these are the things that we usually look at first. And then as it goes up, purple, yellow, then the significance of its effect on you is less and less. Now, one thing that's very important, and I just give you a little bit of a class on this, is what we call the VARHOT, which stands for voltage, amperage, resistance, oxidation, hydration, oxidation, proton, and electron. If anybody here is familiar with the work of Dr. Tennant and how it is the voltage in your body that is so important. So the first thing we measure is the voltage, which is really the amount of hormonal energy that pushes the body's electrical circuitry. And this is a strong indicator of your adrenal function and your willpower. And these measurements should be between 80 and 100. Amperage is the number of electrical ions in the body. Your brain function, your serotonin, your love, and your life force is what this indicates. Resistance is a calculated measurements from knowing the voltage and the amperage, but it indicates overall health and the ease of energy flow in your body. Hydration is the ability of the body to hydrate itself. I can't tell you how many people that I work with that I discover are still drinking seawater. Like, oh, no. Good, pure, living water. If I had to pick one thing that is really, really the best thing for your health, is to get yourself a source of good, pure, living water. Our bodies are 70% water. Our blood, our lymph, it's all water. Oxidation is next, the O2 that is available at the cellular organ level. Now, people will look at me and say, well, I've got this little thing on my finger and it says I'm getting 97%, you know, and the oxidation on this machine says it's only 8. Well, what this measures is at a cellular level, it is measuring the oxygen that is actually available to your cells. So it will be different from what your little finger thingy says. Proton pressure is associated with the estimate of the electrical pH. Normal is between 65 and 70. Electron pressure is associated with the whole of the body's electrical reactivity. This is an estimate of the available electrons in the body. Normal is between 65 and 70. So when I look just at these numbers, I can tell what the overall health of a person is. So it's a very important measurement, and so this is one of the first things that we always do. Now this is this is a first session with someone, and I look at these numbers and I go, it's a good thing you're here. For instance, this oxidation level is an 8, whereas normal is 80. This person is literally suffocating in their body. Hydration is also very, very low at 28. And so these are the kinds of things that I give recommendations for to support the SKIO, because I can't keep SKIO on you all the time. But I can have you drinking good water. I can have you get out and walking. And I can give you herbs suggestions and homeopathic remedies. Now, this is a person, this is my shining star here. This person has had 8 SKIO sessions, has done a parasite cleanse, has taken herbs to support the immune system, has taken a homeopathic remedy, because a couple of things the parasite cleanse will not get are particularly protozoan amoeba, which eat your cellular food and take your cellular oxygen. And so after 8 SKIO sessions in about 3 months, this is what a person's numbers look like. Tremendously different. Oxidation is now 100, hydration 97. All these numbers are now fantastic, and I know this person is got a new lease on life, literally. And one thing you'll see is this blue screen pop up, and this means that the SKIO is actively measuring or intervening. So that's when that pops up, you'll know that's what's happening during a session. All right, now I'm going to show you or let you know. Well, why don't I take a minute and see if there are any questions so far? I know I'm kind of breaking protocol, but I'm throwing a lot at you, I know. Is it okay, Max? Can I just stop here for a minute and see if anybody has any burning questions?
Yeah, totally. I actually have a burning question, but let's let Olga go ahead.
Okay, Olga.
Yeah, thank you. So, Marsha, did I get it right that this machine or system is sort of body-mind consciousness like super scan, which scans totally the body, the mind, the energetic system, up, down, whatever is there?
Yes.
And then, okay, and then if it finds something, there is also solutions to improve or to fix or whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It comes with solutions. It's not just it is not a diagnostic device. It is a device with solution. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you so much for now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Matt.
Yeah, my quick question was when I saw you describe the Healy, and I read on the screen that it was attached to phones, to the iPhone or the Android. And that alarmed me because I know how terrible cell phones are. So my question is, how does something that's so destructive in and of itself, how is it able to do something healing? I'm not sure if I'm phrasing the question right, but that was my little red flag.
Okay, well, that's a good question because um, all these devices either work with a computer or a cell phone, either with a software or an app. And we'll talk about EMF a little bit more in a few minutes, but you have to shield them from EMF and keep them away from the device and away from yourself if you happen to be connecting directly. You do have to do that. Okay.
Sharon,
Yeah, go ahead.
you're muted, guys.
I
Can
didn't
you
know.
hear us now?
Yes.
Max, I'm glad you asked that because I was going to ask that later, like when the question time came. I think it's important just to get a clarification on it because RF is the frequency of the smartphone and the Android, and the computer that can be hardwired. So I think that the main question I would have is about the RF. I understand that you have to use an application because the application isn't really the issue. We're actually being treated by a spooky 2 right now. And it's being done. And I was going to ask another question later about quantum entanglement, if you explain it better, because I still like to have some clarification for myself on that. But right now, since Max brought up the smartphone, I do want to clarify that RF, I didn't bring this up in my talk. I just talked about how to read the sky because it's the easiest introduction to orgone energy for everyone. And then later, I would hope people would delve into it. But a lot of our body of work is about the harm that smartphones and EMF in general are doing to people. And the orgonite isn't just for the sky, it's for us too. I could not be treated by a machine that used EMF like that. In fact, I've had someone send me a device that was an iTouch that was a Wi-Fi device and emits constantly, and put supposedly healing frequencies in it. And all I did was feel nauseous and agitated by it. So I couldn't find that the healing frequencies could override it. Now, you can neutralize, but how can you heal?
If we could continue, what I would like to say is most of this is done remotely. The cell phone is away from the Healy, and the Healy is sending a remote signal. So the
cell phone sending it to the client, and that's the destructive part. That's what I'm trying to get past, is how would you get past that part of it? When the cell phone is with the client, if it's near you, it's hurting you. So how do you override that?
I put things on the phone to take care of the RF. I have orgonite on the phones, and there's different devices that you can put on your cell phone.
Okay, I am aware about those too.
Okay, well, I'll take this into consideration, but
thank you though for letting me know what you did to override that.
Okay, all right, thanks. If I could continue, I don't have the time here. I could go on this forever, but let's continue to look at some more of the programs. It's very interesting how, as I work with this machine, and it's got so many different programs, how the machine itself guides me to check. I looked at a person's heart panel and saw some things that were well, that needed to look into further, and I just said to myself, I want more information on this. I don't know. Is there another program? And this program just popped up on the machine. Okay, these are the kinds of things that happen. This is a dark field analysis program that happens to those of you are probably aware that they have these dark field microscopes that you can go in and have your blood analyzed. Well, this here will do the same thing. And these have actually been, there have been people who've tested this, and the results that come up with the dark field analysis are very similar to the ones that come up with the actual microscope. And you can see here that that gives you many options. See, the options for intervention are right here. As we discover things, as we walk through this, if there is something that wants to be treated right then we do it right then and there by sending these frequencies. So this gets really in depth into what's going on with the bloodstream, for instance. This is another program. Now, after we pass the main panel, there are 12,000 data points that this machine will check every person with. And it does it in a span of about 3 minutes. And these without having to rifle through all those 12,000 data points, what the machine will do is it will organize and prioritize the information and tell you what is the risk of disease. So for this particular person, sugar regulation came up first. That comes up a lot. People definitely eat too much sugar. And then the immune system, and then there's infection, then a connective tissue, and then the amoeba. So we typically look at the highest 5 things to work with. So that's our guide. And then here it also has a virtual doctor, and you can get this information here also in graphical form, which is really nice to be able to see. And it has the risks that are listed here from bottom to top is what the highest risks are. And also, now, the highest ones are usually those which are immediate. They're acute. That's what's going on right now with the person. But a lot of times, then we also look at the lowest ones because those can be the ones that have been chronic and working with the person for years and years, and the body has a very low response to them. They're so chronic. So we also look at those. And then we pull in the virtual doctor screen to get more information on what's going on. And so when we have the client and conscious cooperation 100%, that means that this is something that the person is ready, willing, and able to start really looking at and working on. This particular person had infection. So the virtual doctor gives you hints as to things that will help, things that might be causing it. And right here and there, when we come up with something like this, we treat all on the panel. And this is what I can't show you is the treatment because it takes time to treat it. But the machine will treat it right here and now and send the waveforms out. Now we always check the minerals of a person because the minerals, as you know, are really important. But what we can do, minerals are also important to your connection to the machine, to the electricity in your body. So we can balance the minerals, which we'll do usually at the beginning of each session, because the target balance is between 80 and 120. And it won't last for a long time, but it will help the session because the minerals are so physical. It's not something that's going to last. Some of the things that we do with the machine will last for a while. Some will last for days. Some will last forever. It depends on how physical they really are. And we do the same thing with amino acids. We check those at the beginning too, because the amino acids balance in a person's body is very critical. We also do the same things with EMF, which the machine calls perverse energies. So here we look and see exactly what is affecting the EMF of a person's body. And the measurement here is over 160 is detrimental. So we look here and this person has, the EMF is really, really affecting them. And so and this is typical of most people. But the nice thing about it is it lists all the variations. You can see that one of the highest is the mobile telephone. And that's very common. And so, and yes, we have give people recommendations as to what to do about this. Absolutely. Because this is not something the SKIO is going to fix forever. It's something that you have to fix literally in your environment. this is one of the things that this never ceases to amaze me when I run this program, the neural emotional complex. So this checks where you are emotionally and what's going on with you. You can see it checks the very many parameters here, but the main one here we really like to look at is the love index and the frustration index, which we'd like to see the love index being twice what the frustration is, because if you're living in your heart and you're really, really balanced, then your frustration is going to be less. But what we can do with this is select phase stabilization and emotional stabilization, and you can watch a person's emotions change, and you can watch this love index change. But the other thing that really happens with this science of this neuroemotional complex is, as it does this, it corrects a person's spinal energies. And this is what the spinal energies look like after running a neuroemotional complex. The program will walk through the cervical spine, the thoracic, the lumbar, the cranial, and it will correct. It's not the same as a chiropractic treatment. It corrects the energy through those cervical and all the vertebrae by working on your emotions. And I didn't take a before and after with this, but before these were all corrected, there were subluxations, degeneration, all kinds of things going on in a person's spine. And from this screen, we can go into to many others. We can go into biorhythms. There's a dental program, there's cranial sacral, there's allersodes, which particularly help people with allergies. We can get your nutrition profile. We can go into specific time therapies, neuralistic programming. We can run sports programs to help people who are athletes who really want to get the most out of their physical bodies. And then we can look at the sarcodes and the sarcodes rich, which are basically just taking a look at the individual organs. And here you also have the opportunity to select a few things if a person is particularly having issues with pain, for instance, or sinuses, or lymph or muscles. So if we go then to look at time therapies, what happens is your subconscious will select which one of these therapies that you want right now that is the most prevalent in your body. This particular person, it was ears. Or you can select your own with your conscious mind. And then we actually really get into the treatment or the interventions. And it also gives us selections here as to things that might help. And you have different choices as to how to treat. And of course, the client's intervention or suggestion is always welcome. It will also run through your nutritional profile, tell you how your vitamins are in your body, and sometimes we'll recommend things. Usually we'll just look at this and suggest that you might take vitamins when they're really, really low, but it also takes a look at your good foods that are particularly good for you that your body particularly likes. We can look at homeopathy. We can look at your enzymes and your hormones and do a complete scan there in the body. Another program that we do is NLP. Now with the NLP program, there's lots of things you can do. You can put your age in here and test, and it comes up. It goes through systematically your development and tells you at what ages were your major trauma, who your major conflicts are with, and what's going on physically with physical trauma. And a lot of times it will say you're thirsty. Now this is where I just use this as a guide. And I usually, if someone has a lot of emotional trauma, I'll suggest that I do my work more individually as a transpersonal psychologist or something, and recommend sessions, or I might use theta healing, or I might use matrix energetics. But this is a good place to start the conversation. And interestingly enough, you can also ask it yes/no questions. If you have a burning question and you'd like to know what the machine thinks about it, you can ask that here. I keep losing my mouse. There it is. Also, from the spinal panel, you can check this organ SAR codes. So it will check on each of the individual organs and see how they're performing. If basically the numbers should be between about 90 and 120. So you can see that the immune system for this person is on red alert. And but other than that, it's not doing too bad. But then you look at the low ones, and they've probably got a hypothyroid going on. And so also on this screen, we have the opportunity to intervene. And typically we'll intervene with the top 3 and the bottom 3, just as a matter of course. And this is where the machine has its a list of all kinds of therapies you can use to auto frequency therapy and it will recommend therapies for you. And this is where we will actually run these therapies. Auto frequency therapy is basically a Rife machine. It also has a Rife generator, a scalar generator, and a Mora-like instrument. For those familiar with the Mora machine, it's been around for years. And or you might have particular problems with allergies. Auto trivector, and here again we can go. There's another place to connect to the super learning, or music, or the spinal program. So it's very good about helping you to be able to go back and forth between programs. This is another one that I find is very, very helpful and useful. It will check your DNA. So first we'll tangle the DNA to make sure we're have good communication with it, and then we'll scan and repair the genes. For instance, this person had a flaw in chromosome 12, and this gives us an estimate of where the repair is. So here I ran the repair once, and it repaired to 68%, and twice to 102%. And also will repair your telomere. Those of you know anything about telomeres, the end caps of the gene, and it particularly tends to degrade with age. So it's a anti-aging, if you will, therapy. This is one of those times when I asked the program, after looking at a person's heart panel, what else can I do? And this program popped up. So a lot of people that I see now, or I myself, one of the first things that I was healed with the SCIO was I was having arrhythmia and tachycardia and angina. So I was very, very concerned, and it just kind of came into my life at the right time. You can stabilize the heartbeat here. You can even apply a radio ablation with this. And of course, first it will measure it. It'll run a test on it. It takes about a minute, and then you can decide whether you need to do any of these interventions, which are here. Xenobiotics is another interesting program. The ones that you look at here are the high ones. Particularly if they're over 120 or so. There are things that the client needs to be aware of. This particular person had lots of amoeba and worms. See a lot of people who have worms and parasites. Actually, everybody I see has worms and parasites, unless they have done a parasite cleanse. It's something that people have sometimes a hard time accepting, that they have parasites, because they'll go, well, I haven't been to the Amazon or Peru or anything like that. And that is the common thinking about parasites, when in fact we all have them. And if you don't do something about them, they will they're like parasites. They will eat your food and take your oxygen and make you tired, among other things. So I see a lot of that, and usually that's one of the first things I have people do, is go on a parasite cleanse. And that's something that, one session with the SCIO is not going to take care of, because it's so systemic with the system. These things get in all the body organs, they build nests, and it's really disgusting. But that's the world we're in. And a lot of times that people are walking that fine line between Western medicine and alternative medicine. And I see a lot of people who have side effects of pharmaceuticals. And this is something you'll find really, really interesting. And I'm not sure if it was Dale or somebody who talked about this, how things in your ancestry can come up now. And this is what this miasm indicates. It indicates as much as 3 to 5 generations back, the things that you have inherited from your ancestors that you won't necessarily have, but you'll have a predilection to. Or you may have today's version of what this illness would be. For instance, you're not going to have full-blown syphilis, but you might have some of the symptoms, like things going on with your skin, like psoriasis or other things. And these predilections and these vulnerabilities for these things come to us from our ancestors. So this is a place where we can work on this miasm. So anything really, really high here, particularly the first few high ones, leprosy, skin stuff. So we can work on those. We can intervene right here on this panel by simply pressing the cursor. And this gives us a really good indicator of where a person is getting the toxins from, too. Like, for instance, environmental toxins. They're very prevalent. I think this particular person lived near a chemical plant. And where you live, the things that can affect you, the toxins that can affect you, are tremendous. It will balance your aura. And this is the before picture of a person's aura balance. And I didn't get an after picture, but it'll do that too. Pictures help. It can rejuvenate your skin. And so typically when a session, the first session, at least for the typical person, I'll run it from a person's subconscious, so that things come up that they might not necessarily be aware of. But for people who are really, really spiritual, really, I'll go more quickly to the superconscious. And when we work with the superconscious, it also gives us the opportunities to, well, this is a report. It will say this person's super consciousness reports that they really need exercise. They really need yoga. And that primarily they're starting to have arthritis, or their most stressed organ might be the temporal lobe of the brain. And that the things that they really, really need, this person needs B3 and niacin. So it points these things out right off the bat. Now, again, going back to the main control program, there's so many choices here of things that you can look for. You can check out the hormones, genetically, see how many genetically modified foods you've gotten hold of. And and liquid light lemon remedies. Some of these suggested are just plain old good remedies that your body could use. These 12,000 data points, the way the data points get in here, well, since the original, of course, this program is one that's maintained all the time. Dr. Nelson was, well, he lived in the United States when he developed this, and the FDA took an interest in what he was doing, let's say. And so he moved his operations to Hungary, to Belgrade. And so that's where most of this work was done afterwards, and still is done today. There are people who are constantly updating this program to work on it. And the practitioners, like myself, the people who use this program, can go in and add things to it. And the way we do that is that the device itself has a metal panel on the top of it that we can test different things and add them to the number of data points. We can also, from the SKIO, create a homeopathic remedy that is specially designed for the person. And I've really upped my study of herbs and homeopathy since I've been doing this, because they really support it very, very well. And the designers of the programs worked a lot with homeopathy. So when you look at this main panel, for instance, you see all these different things come up. The red is the priority, then the purple, then the yellow. This person, limes. I see a lot of limes. I see a lot of strep. And you'll notice here, biological warfare variation. And so we look at each one of these individually too, particularly when they're like a high priority issue. Like if something's going on, limes, that's a high priority. Strep, person should not be running around with strep. And then there's food poisoning. The food poisoning is something that if you've had it in your lifetime, it affects you your entire life. And so I see that a lot until it gives you, it has long lasting effects. Some things that we run into have very long lasting effects, and food poisoning is one of them. I will often look and check at someone's bacteria to see if they might have an infection, which is a very it can be a dangerous kind of thing. And so you can see here that it finds all this stuff. Now this is a point. This is a point where some people go, how am I alive if I have all these things? Well, these is, like I said again, this is not a diagnosis. This says that you have this frequency in your field. And so it's my job and our job to deep dive into these things and to see which ones you really, really are affecting you and which ones it aren't. Because this machine is so sensitive that sometimes you can walk past a person or you can, if you have a partner that you're very, very close to, you can resonate with something actually that somebody else has. So it's my job to distinguish what's what from what the machine picks up. Now, these are the kinds of things we see from chemtrails, biowarfare, the things they put in them, strep, different viruses, equine encephalitis, foot and mouth disease, cow bacteria, pneumonic plague, hepatitis. And one thing I haven't talked about is the blue. The blue is history for the most part. So these are the things you can look at and you go, wow, these are all the things I've overcome. These are all the things that my body has taken care of, and I wasn't even really aware of it. And so that happens a lot here. Now, as you know, and I run a cancer screen on people. This particular person had a lot of illness and pain going on. And so these are things that I look at very carefully and very seriously in the different avenues of the program. And I'm a health coach. I mean, if the SKIO can take care of it, this make sure the SKIO will. But if it's such a systemic problem that you need herbs or homeopathy or other kinds of things, I'll help you with that as well. I also typically look at the fungus that's going on in a person's body. A lot of people have all kinds of different fungal infections and fungus going on. The heart is something I'll typically use. That this particular person was having aortic pain and heart disease. So, like I say, once we see these kinds of things on the main panel, then we deep dive. We select the ones that are either potentially serious or that a person resonates with, and we go deep dive into the different programs to do something about it. Parasites, like I say, I have not seen anyone who has not had parasites unless they have done their own parasite cleanse. Viruses. Now this is something I run into quite a bit. Infectious mononucleosis. This, sometimes people are just like, they just have no energy and they're just tired. You might have had mono when you were 16 and forgotten about it. And it could be running around in your system, and the herpes virus is insidious. I definitely have different herbal and homeopathic programs to help people where the herpes virus and mono shows up, because I see a lot. Worms or something that a lot of people have, different kinds of parasites. Like I say, most people have a hard time believing it. And one of the things I really like about the SKIO, and because I've been doing alternative healing for, well, I don't like to say how long because I'll tell you how old I am, but many years, let's say. And I see these things energetically and tell people, and but to see it with their own eyes in a written form, it makes much more of an impression. I can tell a person all day long, you need to get good, pure, living water. And they'll keep drinking the city water because that's what they've always done. But for me to come in here and say, look, your body, your hydration is innate. You might be drinking water, but your cells are not getting it. It makes more of an impression for people to see these things, and plus it helps to expand my consciousness, of course, because it's really an extension of my consciousness, and it certainly has increased my vocabulary working with this. So that's about all I thought I should take the time of the 1,000 programs to share with you. And I'd like to open it up to any more questions if anybody has any.
Yeah, thank you, Marcia, so much. I just want to make a quick comment. So actually, in my little tiny town of 20,000 people, years ago, before I met you, Marcia, there's a guy who studied with Nelson, the guy who invented this, who did quantum biofeedback in town. And I had been feeling very, I don't know, struggling sort of with feeling a very dark, oppressive energy around me. So I went to this guy, and what I want to sort of highlight, so he put me on the screen and you can sort of see, and he said two things right away. He said, number one, you have a remote viewer on you. So he removed that. And then he said, you have an entity and it's wrapped around your neck and your heart. And you could see it on the screen. You could see this black thing right here. And he removed that. And when I went home after the session, I started just laughing in the car. Like, it was an incredible difference. Like, the relief in me was huge. I couldn't believe it, you know, so that was really, really poignant. And then not that long ago, I did a session with you, Marcia. And one of the complaints that I described was that when I was hiking, I live in the mountains, so a lot of the hiking is uphill, that I felt like I was out of breath, which puzzled me because I weight train and I kickbox regularly. So why am I having a hard time breathing? And the machine diagnosed that I wasn't getting sufficient oxygen in my blood. Then I went to my local guy who's a naturopath healer and uses muscle testing. And he tested and he said, yep, he confirmed, because I said I have this symptom. I didn't tell him that the SCIO had diagnosed it. And he diagnosed the same thing. And then my dear friend and Dr. Jana said, take this molecular hydrogen, add a pill to your water. It's a Dr. Mercola product. And boom, I've been doing that since, and I no longer have that issue. So I just wanted to say everything that the SCIO had said was confirmed by others. And then I was able to get a practical, applicable solution. And I still take this every day. So I'm going to open up for questions, but I really wanted to say that based on my experience, this technology is totally amazing. And I saw how it worked, both on a spiritual, emotional level and on an actual physical level. So with that, I'll go to Jana, who has her hand up.
Thanks, Max. And
Jana,
let me
you're
just,
muted.
oh, you're muted, but before Jan speaks, let's like, I will do my best to help you overcome these issues. And if I can't come up with a solution, I know people. Oh, Jana.
We know Jana.
Well, again, Marcia, this is amazing because this is what hospitals should have.
Mhm.
This is what doctors' offices should have. Not to say that you put them out of business, but to actually serve the patient because we are energy. So again, this diagnostic and again, the live blood cell analysis, that can nail you to tell you exactly what your blood has and what it needs. So that in and of itself is such an amazing therapy. I mean, I want one. This is what I want to do because Marcia, amazing. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
Also, the ancestral stuff, how fascinating. Because again, we're going through such a time that we need answers, and your answers are not in drugs and medications. They are in cleaning up that energy field and helping to understand individually what a difference that can make. Oh, I'm just thrilled.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
No, I just want to say, Marcia, also
Yeah.
the emotional panel that you showed, that made a lot of sense to me based on, like, I'm a fan of David Hawkins' map of consciousness, where he has emotions at a frequency level, right? So it makes sense to me that emotions are a frequency and that you can treat that with this frequency-based machine. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks. Yeah. And Jana, the new machines, which mine's a used machine, so one day I want to get a new one. They'll do EKGs right here.
Oh, see, amazing.
You
don't need us anymore.
Oh no, that's not true.
but again, I'm just this has been the answer for years. And again, to see this machine do that, because for everybody's benefit, biofeedback is reading your own physiology, period.
Absolutely.
And it always has been. So it's a diagnostic tool. And again, to offer those energy frequencies and the actual applications of flower essences. You're absolutely right. Herbs are just the answer
They're
to
natural.
everything, because again, it's natural. Look at Indians, look at our ancestral times. You could go out into a desert and find herbal plants to extract and make the herbs from. And I can tell you from taking a wild crafting class, in nature, hawthorn is an herb for the heart.
Mhm. Oh,
And
yes.
it's a little white flower with a little tiny red heart-shaped seed in it.
Mhm.
Melissa is for the nervous system. It's a tree that has all these ventriculars wrapped around it. Milk thistle for the liver. You go out in nature, the milk thistle pod is shaped like a liver.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, nature talks to you.
Yes, absolutely. It's like impatience, the flower, impatience. You take a remedy using it to help you be patient.
Patient.
I mean,
Amazing.
the
That's
clues,
exciting.
the clues are here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
nature.
Well, the
You know-
answers are here.
Well, yes.
They're
yes.
here, and they always have been.
Right.
That's why they're trying to kill the soil,
Mhm.
kill with the chemtrails. They're trying to kill all that stuff that grows naturally.
Yeah, that's why they call them
Again,
weeds too.
It's yeah, dandelions. Again, the incredible, powerful healer that is. So again, it's far more exciting and fascinating to look at the natural remedy as opposed to somebody diagnoses you as something and you're going, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Oh
Right.
God, you're not gonna die. You just need to go in and clean yourself up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
Marcia, and Jen, I spent some time living with a tribe deep in the Peruvian Amazon. And the shaman walked me through the forest, and it was exactly what you guys are saying. There was a tree, and he took his knife and he cut a little bit, and what the stuff that came out looked like blood. And he said, this is what we use to treat wounds, right?
Yep.
And then there was this shrub that had the pattern of one of the poisonous snakes there, which was used as an anti-venom for that particular snake bite. So that's something I learned in my time in the Amazon, that nature is so incredible that even the the cure or the treatment for certain things resemble, like Jana was saying,
Yeah.
the thing, the organ or the thing itself. So that is pretty fascinating. I think Diane, did you have a question? Because I saw you on.
I do. I still
Okay.
use my own hand.
That's fine.
Yes. Hi, Marcia.
Hi, Diane.
It might be a crazy question, but it sounds fascinating. So I see that the SCIO diagnoses things. So then what does the biofeedback do for the treatment? How does it, so you can get a diagnosis for a variety of things. And then what does the SCIO do? How does it treat those particular symptoms? What does it do? I mean, I'm just asking
Okay.
because
Right.
I do from, acupuncture. So that's my question.
You can think of it as a radio, if you will,
Okay.
that has 12,000 different stations, and it pings you, and when you respond to it, then it comes back and sends a signal and says, okay, I've got this frequency. Okay, so it's got it there. It might be the frequencies of, let's say, a fungus. Okay. And then it creates like I don't know if you remember, but in the very first slide, I said Royal Raymond Rife found out that you can send a waveform that's just like this, except it's 180 degrees out of phase. And so the machine will then create that 180 degree out of phase waveform. and send it
Ah.
back to you. And when you add those two waveforms together, there's a neutrality that happens.
Oh, okay, the
So-
waveform from the machine.
Right. And that's the part I can't really show you without doing a session on you, is what it does. But the treatments last from, you can do 7-second treatments up to 17 minutes is typical. But you can do as long as an hour. You can do it as long as for days, but that's when that's when the machine time, that's when I would like switch to a Spooky 2 that could send you something for a long period of time.
So it can go, the treatment can be as little as 7 minutes, but goes normally to 17 minutes.
It
For
can
the-
be as little as 7 seconds.
7 seconds. Oh, I thought you said 7 minutes.
Yeah.
7 seconds.
Yeah, that's typical what the machine does, because the session, usually the first session is between 1.5 to 2 hours, and then subsequent sessions between an hour and an hour and a half. So you have to really pick the really crucial things to work on because of machine time.
Okay. Well, thank
Yeah.
you. I just wasn't, I was just trying to get the physiology, the picture of how it actually heals from the diagnosis. But
Yeah.
it's the waves through frequency.
Right.
So I've
right.
never used one myself, so
Yeah.
biofeedback. So thank you very much. Thank you. It was very fascinating information with all the different
Absolutely.
ailments I've had from being a trauma survivor. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Gabe.
Thanks, Max. With reference to slide number 31, all of those indexes, I noticed that one of them was worry. And I know it might sound like I'm being funny, but I'm not. Do you ever get, when you do the actual printout and show people, does that worry number just like absolutely skyrocket as they're reading the thing? Because I would think that a lot of people, seriously, a lot of people might have kind of this nebulous idea that maybe some things are wrong with me, maybe some things could need improvement. But when they have an actual, concrete physical thing staring them in the face, it's this and this and this, do they have a little bit more of an overt concern with regard to those conditions? I would imagine the answer is yes.
Yeah, when they see it, I've even had some people get mad at me. It's like, well, I must be dead with everything this machine is. I'm like, this is one client that came to me. He was just more out of curiosity than anything else, and it was a good thing he did. I think probably saved his life. But in the beginning, he's like, this can't be, because I'm still walking around. But stress, we all know stress is really the number one killer, I think, is stress. Anxiety, worry goes right along with that. And yeah, so as part of my job is, I'm not just a driver of a skio, I'm more a health coach too, as I tell people, hey, you got to get the stress out of your life, and there's things you can do, walk away from the computer, take a walk in the woods, and some people they have to, or I'm going to come up there and put a harness on you and take you on a walk, put a
That would
leash on
just
you.
increase the stress, though.
Yeah, absolutely, it would, yeah. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, these things, they do have indicators of what a priority they are, prioritize, and stress is the big one, and it's probably the biggest one. Trauma, of course, that's kind of a stress, but yeah, Daphne.
Okay. I was actually wondering, how does the quantum entanglement work? On the Spooky 2, that we have a fingernail that we give once a month, although we do need to get rescanned again. How does it find us through that? I know there's some kind of energy field of the DNA of the fingernail. So how does it actually locate us?
Well, yeah, it matches you to your DNA. It reads, if you will, the fingernail clipping, and gets your your personal energy signature, and then it goes out in space and finds you, because there's only one you.
That makes sense. It's a unique signature.
And it
Yeah.
has to be replaced monthly or
That's
so.
what he has us
but
send us
yeah.
send it every month, but we do occasionally get rescanned. I know we're overdue for it because things change.
Yeah, I do that too. And but yeah, the fingernails just degrade, and so they're not reliable after 30 days. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we send it every month. We're very diligent.
Well, that's good.
Like paying
That's
the
good.
bills, you know.
Yeah.
Send the fingernail.
I should offer that as an option to people.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? Dale, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I know you haven't been feeling well, and I know that you're studying homeopathy, which this device actually uses as well. I don't know if there's something that, you know, maybe Marcia could help you with, and I don't know if you're there, but I don't mean to put you on the spot, honey, but I know you haven't been feeling well, so I'm just putting you on the spot.
Diagnose me. Do you know what? I had a family member got hooked up to one of these. When was it? I think it was end of 2019. He'd been quite crook or sick, Marsha. And yeah, and it came up that she, like the lady that did hooked her up, said, "Have you been bitten by a snake?" And Mum's like, "No." And it was so it kept coming up. So how's that even detected on the machine?
It has the vibrations of all these things loaded into the database. They get loaded on the machine through the here.
Because we were like bamboozled, because she's like, "No, there's absolutely no way I've been bitten by a snake." But then all that stuff came out. If you buy into that theory that they're putting snake venom in, putting snake venom in water or food or whatever, or spraying it or whatever they were doing. So I found that was crazy interesting that she picked up that she had that in her body in 2019.
Yeah.
So,
and that's, you know, the practitioners, people like me, when they come up with something unique, they'll put it right on top of the machine on this metal pad, and it will read the vibration of it. And so it gets loaded into the database physically. And so, you know,
so it's just is it the more data over time that's accumulated that the machine just adds that to its
to the database?
set of data, and that I guess that it's like quantum kind of learning, isn't it? That it just keeps building its own.
Well, it practitioners added in there. There's between 12 and 13,000 data points of things that it checks for right now, and 6 months ago it was 10,000.
Is that accumulated by everyone? Like that, all those machines are all like hooked to all the other ones, that it feeds into that data, like it's its
right.
own.
The software, it goes into the software, and the software gets updated once a week or twice a month. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, as far as my health issues, I mean, I was talking to Rachel about this yesterday. I've actually got like these patches on my arm, but I've just had like these like boils that have broken out all over my skin. I haven't actually been diagnosed, but I've got a homeopathic consultation on Monday. I think, I mean, me and Rachel spoke about this, might have something to do with my liver. So I've had itchy skin for quite a while, and I've been taking better care of my health than I probably have for years, but it's interesting at the moment. I don't really know what it was. I think.
Have you done a parasite cleanse?
No, I haven't. So I'm starting to do a liver detox at the moment, because the homeopath suggested, like before we even look at any kind of remedies, that it's obvious that my my kidneys and liver need to be cleansed before I do anything. But yeah, I've had a lot of people suggest could be parasites. I don't know if they can come up in your skin?
Typically when it's skin, it's when it starts to manifest like that, it is parasitical.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess I haven't had a lot of stomach issues or anything like that. But I have done a couple of trips to Thailand, and I did get an original outbreak when I was there.
Yeah, and one thing you can do that's really soothing is to take an Epsom salt bath. I mean, it will definitely help drain that. And yeah, your body systems are definitely trying to detox, and they do it through your skin. I'll tell you a really gross story if you want me to. When my first parasite cleanse, I'm like, okay, I'm going through this because somebody told me I needed to do it, and I had a particular one. Instead of holding it, I wrapped it around my foot, and after about 3 days, I'm looking at my foot and going, well, that's weird. I never had blackheads appear on my foot before. I could see the parasites coming out of the skin of my foot, and I thought at first,
Oh my
What
goodness.
did you think was going to happen? But
well, I figured, you get rid of them through your elimination system. I didn't know they'd come
Sorry,
crawling out of your
Marshall,
skin.
I got cut out there.
No, but anyway, they definitely will come right out through your skin, and that is the skin is your biggest organ, so it's trying to detox you. So definitely got some toxic issues, but you've all got my email too. If you're very welcome to call me individually if Max sent out everybody's email so that we have it. So feel free to.
Marshall, with a lot of the outbreak I had, majority, I mean, they kind of went around everywhere in my body, but a lot of them around the neck.
Mm-hmm.
What would you think that would be, even on an energetic level, if they were coming out around the neck?
Most of you've got a lot of lymph through here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they've been
and
swollen
through here, a lot. So
yeah.
I'm not Marcia, but
no, that's fine.
But I'd throw that in there.
This is my alter ego, Jana.
Here to help.
Yeah. No.
Dale, I did a parasite cleanse, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, 8 months ago, just because talking to Jana and Marcia. And the one I got was Dr. Clark's. They've been around for a super, super long time, so they're really good. You can look it up. And it's all natural stuff. And I think if I remember correctly, it was 18 days. You take some capsules. And for about a week, I felt like I had the flu because it was detoxing all that stuff out of me. And according to Penny Kelly, who I absolutely love, her wisdom, she suggests we should do a parasite cleanse at least every year, at least once a year. And then regularly do a liver cleanse. And I've done a colon cleanse that Jana suggested from Dr. Group. And it was really no big deal. You just, you take some stuff and then, stuff comes out of you for a few days. But it cleans out your intestines. So I think the moral of the story is when you're having something like you have, particularly with your skin erupting, it's all about detox. I think, not being a doctor myself, but with my experience, I think detox is what's really going to help you out.
Well, do you know, the issue with me is always like pharmaceuticals is always an absolute last option, but I had a course of antibiotics when I was in Thailand, just because the infection looked really bad, and I don't have a spleen, so I've got the risk of blood infection. But yeah, it's just highlighted my lack of knowledge of a lot of this stuff. So
what are the pouches you wear?
Oh, I've just got so I just got these boils coming out. So I just put this concoction this lady's made me up at the herbal store. She said to just put them over your abrasions, and I've just patched them up. Just for now. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the really cool aspects of the skio is you can put somebody on a parasite cleanse and then check them afterwards and see how much it worked. And one of the things that I find is I know that Hulda Clark, who was a pioneer in this, she had a book in the 70s called The Cure for All Diseases, where she estimated that just about every disease was caused initially by parasites.
Yes, it is.
And I think that's
Cancer.
absolutely cancer.
Cancer is parasitic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
she also has a,
that's
yeah.
why the FDA or the WHO, any of them shut you down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, back to the snake thing, we found when we did the analysis in the lab on the actual vaccines, one of the identified proteins was snake venom.
They said snake venom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heard snake venom.
Yeah. So again, if she got one of the, or even any of the shedding when it first came out, that was the concern. Because I'm like, oh my God, this would kill a person. Kill them.
Yeah.
Yes. Sharon, I think you wanted to say something. You had your hand up a minute ago.
Yeah, I wanted to suggest, I'm sorry, is your name Dale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dale.
I wanted to suggest having chlorine dioxide solution just on hand. I don't know if you know anything about it.
Yeah, a lot of people have been telling me to do that. Yeah.
It saved my life over and over
We've
again.
been taking it for 8 years. It's
good for you.
Well, the thing of it is that if you have something and you're not able to get treatment immediately, which I wasn't, I get a lot of things when we go on our gifting expeditions. I don't usually leave them out, and when I do leave, I'm prone to getting stuff out there. And I got something really horrible. We were out for 2 weeks, the longest we'd ever been. I got something unbelievably horrible while I was out there, an intestinal thing. Now, I didn't find out what it was. I wasn't able to get treated for it, but I did treat it myself with chlorine dioxide solution, which is sort of like it kills everything sort of thing.
Everything.
So if you're not able to get treatment, or for whatever reason, and you need something immediately, it literally kills everything. And I know that there is a source in Australia, so you wouldn't have to worry about getting it shipped over an ocean. If you wanted to email me, I'll send you that website so you can have access to it. You can also make it yourself. We have the recipe, we make it ourselves, and we sell it on our website, but I'm recommending that you get it over there because it's just safer to get it shipped within one country. But also you can learn to make it, and we're going to put out our instructions. I revised Jim Humble's instructions so that anyone can understand. They're very hard to understand, so we've made our own and revised the instructions and made them easy. And we're also going to at some point put out a video on how to do it, to make your own.
Yeah,
so
it's exceedingly easy.
It's actually
to
quite
make
easy to make
and cheap.
Yeah, and of course the federal, the FDA does not like it because it's like an antibiotic that you could just get yourself without having to go to the doctor. So I'm not recommending not going to the doctor, but I'm saying if you need something now, you have it on hand.
Yeah. Is it something that you'd use for an acute problem like that, or is it would you just take it? You wouldn't take it unless you needed it.
Right. I don't
Well,
take it
you
unless
could. It won't hurt you.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
you
hurt.
can.
Yeah,
It's a little harsh to be taken just
Yeah.
as like a maintenance dose type thing.
It's
We
not a
typically will
prophylactic,
only use it like, as soon as you get that tenderness back there, when you feel like a cold is coming on, boom, take it right away.
But it's not just for
it
colds.
knocks it out before it even has a chance to build up
I got
strength.
something absolutely horrific in Denver. I mean, I've been not well for a long time after that. We've been back for about a month and a half or so. And I didn't know. I thought I was having an allergic reaction to something because it behaved like something I had in the past. And then only when I got a diagnosis that it was a parasite and started taking the CDS, it's been 10 days since that diagnosis. And I actually needed some help with this one because I didn't know I had an infection. And I am almost 100% now, but prior to that, I had just been festering with this thing and it wasn't going away. So it really did knock it out. I did 3 doses a day. That's it. And I mean, I'll also make sure you have the instructions. I can give you much more info on this if you want to email me. I just did 3 doses a day, and within a week, I was significantly better. And when it is something like what Gabe says, like a cold or flu, it knocks it out
before
like
it even
that.
has a chance to start, basically.
Yeah.
So if you take it while it's going on, then it'll take a little bit longer. But if you can get it right at the start, you negate the whole process.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, so many people have mentioned that to me in the last week.
Oh, well, you should check it out. So I'll send you, Max, would you mind sending me, or
Yeah,
I can just type it into the
oh
chat.
yeah, that would be easier.
And
then
actually, when I send you guys the links, all of your emails are on there. So Dale, you'll see Sharon's email, her name's in it, and Dale's name is in his.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, but you can also put it in the chat here.
Thank you.
You know, and Jana is like, you know, my friend and like health guru. And so if she also agrees with that, then that I'm gonna look into that myself too. So thanks, you guys. Thanks, Gabe.
Yeah, and you won't know exactly what you have doing this. It's not like getting the quantum biofeedback. It's that if you're having an issue now and you need to take care of it right away, this.
Oh yeah, if you can take care of it, you don't necessarily need to know.
But see, I don't even know what I had, but I do want to find out because I actually, it's funny because she's an acupuncturist. I can't have a remote session. So she's my remote herbologist. She's in Hawaii and I'm in California, but she's going to be explaining to me when she gets back from Taiwan, which is where she is now, what I had. But she basically told me what was going on briefly. And now I'm going to get a full on, you know, consultation with her to find out more about it so that I can cure it with herbs in the future that she will give me. But I was able to knock it out quick, at least.
Yeah, she would need very, very long needles to reach you.
But she does,
Marsha,
she does
you're
remote consultations for herbology.
You're absolutely right. This book by Hulda Clark is just, I mean, you see how thick it is.
Oh yeah.
It has every disease in it.
It's absolutely amazing.
And she has another one, the cure for the cancer cure that worked, I think is the name of it. Yeah.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, Dale, I hope you got some help there.
That's excellent. Thanks very much. I was just going to say one more thing. I knew I had a bit of a problem when I haven't had a can of like soda or soft drink for like 20 years, and I just had this insatiable desire to have a can of Coke, and I went and
parasite.
I had one the other day, and I just went and went and bought a can of Coke, and I guzzled like half the can and then threw it away, and I'm like, what have I done? I haven't drank that since I was a child.
Oh my gosh.
But it was like my body, it was screaming for,
That's
so I don't know.
parasites.
Oh yeah, they'll talk to you.
Yeah, that's a parasite.
Yeah.
When you crave that crap.
They'll give you cravings.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. Does anybody else have anything? Otherwise, we can wrap up. Okay. Let me pause the record. Did anybody have anything? Did I hear someone? Oh, Rachel, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay,
I'm gonna leave. So thank you. I'll see you later, everybody.
Okay, thanks. Bye, Diane.
See you later.
I just want to say hi, Israel.
Thank you so much for your presentation. I'm sorry I came in late. I've got the times all wrong. I was fascinated by what you were saying about the DNA having a signature, and that's also your soul signature, because I see this again with souls that reincarnate back into the same family line because they're going back into the same DNA or similar DNA structure. So that is absolutely fascinating to me. So that is working with someone on a soul level as well.
Yeah.
That is amazing. Yeah, I've got to look more into what you do. Thank you.
Sure.